Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly through these calls, bottom line the information for you. Standard procedure is to spend a few minutes talking about the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for the potential reset of some of these other pre-valued currencies. A few minutes talking about the turnkey program we've put in place to assist you both pre- and post-RV, and then we move to a brief Q&A. Once again, this is going to be a short call, and we're going to be dealing today with the situation in Iraq and the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. We're going to dispense with marketing our trust for the very simple reason that we've been inundated with calls from individuals interested in applying for our trust and other existing clients that want to make last-minute changes in anticipation of the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. For nearly 40 years, I've worked in public relations and professional sales, and never before in my career have I been in a situation where I am marketing a good or a service, but then I'm not discussing that good or a service. But that's the situation we find ourselves in. We're in rather strange times, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the situation in Iraq. First, and again by disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or the purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. And for us, at least for me, and I'm sure for any dinarian, the most relevant piece of information would be the window for the potential reinstitution of the dinar. I have done all of my research over the week. I've talked to all of the people that I've trusted over actually now it's longer than a decade on this subject. And there's just a lot of unanswered questions right now. However, I'm still comfortable with the notion that we could see a reinstitution of the dinar within the next 30 days prior to the Ides of August 15th. Now, we always knew that in the very last days before this would happen, that no one would know the exact day, the exact rate. We knew it would be a stressful time. We knew there would be a lot of unsubstantiated information out there, a lot of conflicting information, and that's where we find ourselves right now. But I've learned that whenever you find yourself in the weeds in a given moment and you're not quite sure what has happened or what's about to happen, and there's a lot of confusion, the thing to do is to step back and take the longer view and review the things that we do know that can help give us direction. So let's talk a little bit about the things that we do know. We know that the international community has dumped close to $4 trillion into the resurrection of the nation-state of Iraq since 2003. And we know that the individuals and the countries and organizations that have assisted Iraq want profit on their investment. It's the simple formula of greed, which has existed since the concept of personal property. So that's a critical issue. We also know that Iraq is in a position to repay the individuals, the countries, the organizations that have assisted them. It can be argued that Iraq is the richest country per square mile in the world. I've discussed this before, but I think it's important to touch on it again. Iraq has the second largest known oil reserves, certainly in the Middle East, probably in the world. Their oil also contains the lowest sulfur content. Why is that important? It's important because it means that their crude oil is the sweetest and it can be much more easily refined. Why is that important? because only about 1/3 of refined petroleum is used in the combustion engine. The other fully 2/3 is used in the production of glass, plastics, textiles, pharmaceuticals, electronics, nanotechnologies, and the like. There is not enough wind and solar in the entire universe to produce one smartphone or one computer. So despite all of the Green New Deal renewable energy nonsense, these people are operating simply because of the existence of petroleum. But the embarrassment of riches even goes further. Despite the fact that Iraqi crude has the lowest sulfur content, Iraq has the second largest known sulfur reserves in their country. Why is this important? Because sulfur is an important ingredient and component for all manner of industrial applications. Then we have the fact that geographically, Iraq's located within the Tigris-Euphrates River Delta. Why is that important? Because silt has traveled down in that delta for thousands of years, meaning that not only is Iraq extremely rich in minerals, in precious and industrial metals and the like, but that because it's not in a mountainous region, but in fact in a river delta, it's very easily mined. Then we have the fact that when Iraq does open up, one of the areas that's really been untouched is tourism, because Iraq can boast one of the most historical legacies of any nation. We can go back to the Sumerian culture, which is one of the first, if not the first, sophisticated cultures. We can look at their written language, cuneiform, which is one of the first, if not the first, written language. Then we have one of their leaders, Hammurabi, who is a prototype for today's sophisticated cultures, responsible for writing the first complex written legal, criminal, and civil code for a society. So for all of these reasons, again, you could argue that Iraq's the richest country in the world. Then we have their geographic location, which is the crossroad between the East and the West. And if you're a student of history, you know that the real history of the world is the vacillation between East and West, back and forth. We also know that geopolitically, Iraq is extremely important, especially in the Middle East. We also know that all of the international agencies are now desperate and vying for a piece of Iraq. The UN, the World Trade Organization, the Bank of International Settlements. Then we have the central banks of China, the United States, the EU, all vying for getting a piece of the action in Iraq. We know that the World Trade Organization has made a number of formal overtures for the entry of Iraq into the World Trade Organization. We also know that the IMF wants the revaluation to occur, if for no other reason than once this occurs, the Iraqi dinar, and for that matter, the other currencies like the dong and some of the other currencies, will no longer be pegged to the U.S. dollar, but will be pegged to the IMF basket of currencies. Now, why are they so interested in accomplishing that? Because pegging these currencies to the IMF basket of currencies is the intermediary and necessary step for their objective, which is a one world digital currency. So knowing this and knowing what a one world digital currency means, what that really means is permanent control. It's a behavioral mechanism. So what would our objective be the moment we go to the bank to do these exchanges? We negotiate our exchange. We get a substantial portion of that USD transferred out of the banks and out of financial institutions as quickly as possible and out of their control to the extent that's possible and we move to tangibles, which we can then have control of. So this is pretty much a very stressful time. We're getting a lot of comments from our existing clients that are asking a lot of questions. They're concerned. They want a review of the exchange process, all of these other things. As I've stated in the past, once the reinstitution of the dinar occurs in country, the formal announcement that the currency, the dinar in country, has changed its rate, and we expect that rate to be 1-to-1 with the U.S. dollar, then our calls will stop marketing our trust. As a matter of fact, in a sense, we've already stopped marketing our trust. At least on a week-to-week basis, we've made that decision. Certainly, if there's some sort of an unseen delay, and given what we've been through the last 10 years, that's certainly possible, because there still is a small cabal of individuals for their own selfish and financial and political reasons that do not want to see the reinstitution of the dinar. But once the dinar does reinstitute, then our Wednesday calls will be dealing with the exchange, the management and funding of your trust, discussions about our post-RV seminar, and all of the critical issues that we'll be dealing with once we've acquired this wealth. So, again, and to circle back to what I said initially, we're still looking at a window over the next 30 days for the reinstitution, taking us to August 15th. On a week-to-week basis, we may or may not be marketing the trust. Now, certainly if an individual contacts us and asks for our initial trust package and is interested in a trust, we've responded. I sent out at least a half a dozen requests this morning, but we're just not formally marketing the trust, and we reserve that decision to be made on a week-to-week basis. Now, for those of you listening for the first time, and I suggest that you at least find out about our turnkey program, I strongly suggest that you go to our playback of June 2nd. That has a detailed explanation of our trust package, how it works, has a lot of information about us, about the revaluation, general information about trusts. You can review that information, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. And, of course, individuals that have made formal application, those applications have already been forwarded to our paralegals, are in preparation. We expect that every trust that's been applied for thus far this week will go out this week. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I hope the information here has been helpful and informative. We will have a call next week. Certainly, actually, let me make a correction there. There will not be a call next week, or it's highly unlikely there will be a call. I will be out of town, and I will be in a location that has very poor reception. So I'm not sure if I'll even be able to contact individuals. I'm leaving Friday. I will be back on Friday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature happens, then I will make the travel to where I need to go in order to have a call, or I will have someone else handle the call. I'll work the logistics of that out if, in fact, there needs to be a call. But at present, there will be no call next week. So we will be back 2 weeks from today, Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening to call, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye.